Apparently, Las Vegas is actually ranked number 9 in the highest filings for foreclosure. Now, this is actually up 28% from this time to 2024, I believe it said. Yeah, 2024. Also, the notice of default filing for the third quarter of this year, we have a total of about 1,300 filings of notice of default. Now, what is a notice of default? Just means that the owner of the property is not making payments to the home. So a letter has gone out to the owners of the property and letting them know you haven't been making payments. If this continues, we are going to file for foreclosure and we're going to send this over to the auction block. Now, I know that these numbers seem pretty high, but I feel like it's not as high. And the way that the news is making it, it's like literally like scaring a lot of people. Now, I did check on the MLS, which is like the multiple listing service, and I think there was like only a total of like 57 like short sales, 37 foreclosures right now, and I think another like 28 bank-owned properties. Now, there's a completely difference between a foreclosure and a bank-owned property, because every time I get a call, they're like, hey, I'm looking for a foreclosure. The word foreclosure doesn't mean the bank owns a property at this point. They didn't take possession of the property. This just means they're in the process of foreclosing on your home, and it's about to go to the auction block when there's a notice of sale. And at that point, when the notice of sale goes out, the bank actually puts a reserve on that property, which means they're going to have a set price. Now, if investors don't meet that set price, then now the bank has to take that property back. Now it becomes a bank-owned property, which means the bank has full possession of that property. And typically what they'll do is list it with the real estate agent, and the real estate agent will put it on the market as a bank-owned property, and the bank will list the property at the fair market value with that agent. And it doesn't mean that you're going to get like a super steep discount because it's a bank-owned property. Now, if the property needed a lot of work and the work was only valued about $25,000 worth of work, you'll probably get about a $30,000 discount. But is it really worth it to you? Unless the property is completely damaged, then at that point, typically the banks will let that property go and let the investor deal with it, because they know the investor needs to make some money too as well. But now, if you're looking for a deal, it's not only at the bank-owned properties, it's not the foreclosures, it's not only at the short sales. Like, you can find deals out there. There's tons of deals. But I want to go back to the process of, if you are in this situation where you can no longer make payments, like, what do you do at this point? Well, you got a couple options. Number one, you can speak to an attorney and file for BK and put that property in there. Now, I'm not an attorney, so I'm not advising you to do this, but then you could tie up the property, right? But then your credit's pretty much shot. The first thing I would do is, if you're late on the payment, you got to take a look at your financial situation, right? First thing, you take a look at all your bills and you figure out how much you owe with all your bills. You know, credit card bills, your auto loan, your insurance, your medical bills, whatever bills you have. And take a look at the income that you currently have and see exactly where you can start cutting things out, so that way you can make your mortgage payment. Now, let's just say, hypothetically, you can't make the payments because your income that's coming in every single month, right, can't cover all your debt. And that happens, and I understand. It's life, right? At this point, the first thing that you need to understand is you're going to lose the property. Your credit is probably going to get shot regardless. First thing I would do is actually, get with a real estate agent, see what the value of the property is. Because just because you can't make the payments, it doesn't mean that there's an equity position in that home. Because what happens if you have $100,000 worth of equity? You may be better off in a position of selling your home and taking that equity and paying off all your debt, and at that point, go out and rent a home and restart all over, because you don't want to ruin your credit, right? Now, there's times where you look at your home, you run the comps, you realize what you bought it for is no longer worth what you bought it for, and now your payments are just way too high that your income can't keep with it because of all your bills. So what do? Do you contact an attorney to file for BK, or do you play the real estate game? Another option is that you can get with an agent like myself or any other agent, it doesn't have to be me. And at that point, you would figure out, does a short sale actually make sense? Now, what is a short sale? Basically, what it is, you're going to be putting that property on the market with that agent. You're going to go out, you're going to get a buyer at the current market value. You're going to package up that deal, and you're going to have your agent negotiate with the bank, even though that you have negative equity. But your agent's job is to do a non-pursuant deficiency, which means whatever the remaining balance is of what you sold the property for, the agreement is, I'm going to wipe this free and clear for you as an owner. But the question is, why would the bank actually do this? The reason why is because it saves the bank time and a lot of headache and also money, believe it or not. Because for the bank to go through the whole process of a foreclosure will cost the bank a lot more money, believe it or not. So chances of doing a short sale works out. The only negative thing about a short sale, does it impact your credit? Yes, it does impact your credit. The good news is this: credit is just a game. So you got to play the credit game. It's very easy to rebuild your credit, believe it or not. Now, let's just say you're trying to hang on, and at this point, it goes through foreclosure, right? Because you didn't reach out to your agent early on enough, and you've already got a notice of default, a notice of sale. Now you decide that you want to list with an agent. You're going to make it harder for that agent. You're going to make it harder for yourself. Agent puts a property on the market, but they put it on the market as a foreclosure. That means a notice of sale is coming up. And at this point, your agent's trying to help you negotiate that deal before it goes into foreclosure. But the problem is that you've already ruined your credit. And typically this is for people that actually have equity, but they waited too late to put their home on the market. So this is the reason why that you have to take a look at your financial situation immediately to say, hey, you know what? I can only make 2 more payments of my mortgage and keep up, and I can no longer keep up, but I do have equity in this home, but I do want to save my credit. Let's hurry up and get this thing on the market and let's sell it. It's better to sell it, take the equity to restart. And there's nothing wrong with restarting all over, because the last thing that you want to do is the bank forecloses on your home and now becomes a bank-owned property, and you get a eviction letter. Now you got to move out of your house. You got to deal with all this. That's the last thing that you want to do. So save yourselves. Question is, how did we get to where we're at? Well, it's pretty obvious. You know, during the pandemic, everybody was out here just kind of like just buying homes like crazy, right? And it was a lot of fear mongering. A lot of people were just trying to get into a home. They're bidding against every other buyer because the demand was low. The supply was low, but the demand was high, which raised the cost of all these homes. But people were just so focused on the monthly payment, which is fine. But what I realized by being in this industry now for about 16 years is that it really comes down to your financing, guys. And people just don't realize this. You have a monthly mortgage payment that's fixed and locked for 30 years. But the problem is you're so set on all your debt, and you calculate that for the month you have enough income, but you don't realize that there's inflation. One thing can go wrong and you could literally lose it all. Another thing people don't realize is with a fixed rate mortgage, it's fixed with principal and interest, but your taxes and your insurance is not fixed. So imagine if you're paying $1,800 a month with your brand new home. And at this point, 2-3 years go along, we have inflation, property taxes is going to go up, and also your insurance on the home is going to go up. But also car insurance have gone up. Groceries have gone up. So now what's happening is the income is no longer covering your debt because now you're having more and more debt. But I understand that a lot of us have like the pride of like just holding on, but you got to be very smart with your money, right? So if you're in that situation and you know you're coming around the corner, you need to get with an agent and you need to figure out what's going on immediately. Now, from the buyer perspective, there will also be opportunities for you. Now, can you get a great deal with a bank-owned property, a short sale? Yes, you can. But you got to know how to find the short sales. Then once you find the short sales, it doesn't mean that you're going to get the deal, even if the seller has accepted your offer. Because the seller, once he signs that contract, the agent has to package up that file and they have to really negotiate with the asset manager because the bank really owns that property. I literally just had a file come across my desk where the home is roughly about $575. And the agent told me this: hey, would you want to buy this property? It's a short sale. So I said, okay. I said, hey, are you willing to submit an offer for $450? He's like, yes, I'm willing to submit it for $450, but I know I may not get it for $450 because I know what the asset manager is going to do once we have a fully executed contract. He's going to run the comps, he's going to see the value, and he's going to counter back. But the reason why I submitted at $450 is because you just never know that the bank may just say, hey, you know what, we'll accept the $450. So you're probably wondering, why would the agent accept my offer? Because at the end of the day, the agent is going to go through the process of getting this deal done. If he can't get it at $450, as long as the agent gets a short sale approval, which means that the bank had came back and said, look, sell it for $550 and I'll approve it. At that point, the agent's just going to let me know, hey, we can't do $450, but it's $550. If you want it, we'll move forward. If not, now the agent could put it back on the market at the $550 range, right? And he can mark it as a short sale approval. Once you are at that stage of the short sale approval, it just becomes a regular transaction. Then now you just get the deal done. All right, guys, that is pretty much it for this video. If you guys want more information on how a short sale works, how a foreclosure works, or bank loan works, and you're looking to buy a discounted property, feel free to reach on out to us anytime. Now, if you are a seller in this situation, give us a call. Let us sit down with you. Let us take a look at your financial situation to see if this actually makes sense. Other than that, I wish you guys nothing but the best and be blessed. Peace.